The Nexus Council chamber stretched before Ambassador Sarah Chen like a cathedral of alien architecture, its crystalline walls pulsing with the bioluminescent patterns of a dozen different species. For 347 years, this same chamber had hosted countless peace negotiations between the Kethvar Empire and the Zephyrian Collective. All had failed. Sarah stood at the center of the vast space, dwarfed by the towering representatives of both factions. To her left, the Kethvar delegation bristled with chitinous exoskeletons that clicked and scraped with every movement, their compound eyes reflecting the chamber's ethereal light. To her right, the Zephyrians floated in their environmental suits, their gaseous forms swirling like contained storms, occasionally flashing with electrical discharges that betrayed their emotional states. High Chancellor Vexthul of the Kethvar hissed through his translator, mandibles clicking in agitation. The humans presume too much. This conflict began before your species learned to make fire. What could you possibly understand about our ancient grievances? The Zephyrian prime consciousness, speaking through harmonized electromagnetic frequencies, responded with equal disdain. The soft-flesh newcomers think their brief existence grants them wisdom. We have been at war since before their son was born. Sarah had heard variations of this dismissal for months since arriving at the Nexus. Humanity had only achieved interstellar travel 50 years ago, stumbling into a galaxy torn apart by the longest-running conflict in recorded history. The Galactic Consortium had grown weary of the devastation, with entire star systems reduced to lifeless debris fields, trade routes constantly threatened, and billions of lives lost across multiple species caught in the crossfire. When traditional diplomacy had failed for the 1,000th time, someone had suggested the impossible. Let the newcomers try. The humans, with their inexplicable tendency to find solutions where others saw only problems. "You're right," Sarah said, quietly, her voice barely above a whisper in the vast chamber. "I don't understand your history. I don't comprehend the depth of your hatred or the complexity of your grievances." Both delegations stirred, surprised by her admission. Sarah continued, her voice still soft but carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "But I understand something else. I understand what it means to be tired." She turned slowly, addressing both sides equally. "Do you know what my species was doing 300 years ago? We were killing each other over patches of dirt, over resources, over ideas. We fought wars that seemed eternal, conflicts that defined entire generations. And do you know what ended them?" High Chancellor Vexthul's mandibles stopped clicking. The Zephyrian electrical discharges dimmed to barely perceptible flickers. "Exhaustion," Sarah whispered. "Not victory, not defeat, just exhaustion. One day after burying our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, we simply couldn't remember why we had started fighting in the first place." She moved closer to the Kethvar delegation, her small human frame casting an impossibly large shadow in the chamber's strange lighting. "Chancellor, your people are warriors. I've read your histories, your poetry, your philosophical treatises on honor and duty. But tell me, when was the last time a Kethvar child was born who didn't know war? When did your people last create something beautiful just for the joy of creation?" Vexthul's compound eyes seemed to dim. "Our nurseries sing war ballads. Our young learn battle tactics before they learn to hunt. It has been many generations since we have known." "Peace!" Sarah turned to the Zephyrians, her voice still that same gentle whisper. "And you, Prime Consciousness. Your people once explored the cosmos for knowledge, for wonder. Your ancient texts speak of dancing among the stars, of symphonies played on solar winds. When did exploration become conquest? When did wonder become weapon?" The electromagnetic harmonies from the Zephyrian delegation shifted to minor keys, a sound like cosmic wind through dead worlds. "We had forgotten. In the pursuit of victory, we had forgotten why we first took to the void." "Here's what I think," Sarah said, her whisper somehow filling the enormous space. "I think you've both forgotten what you were fighting for. I think this war has become bigger than either of your species, bigger than your original grievances. It's become a monster, that feeds on itself, that exists only to exist. She stood in the exact center of the chamber, equidistant from both delegations. But here's what else I think. I think you're both scared to stop. Because if you stop fighting, you'll have to face what you've become. You'll have to mourn what you've lost. You'll have to figure out who you are when you're not defined by your enemy. The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of life support systems and the distant vibration of the station's core. So here's my proposal, Sarah continued, her voice still barely above a whisper. Don't make peace, don't sign treaties, don't promise eternal friendship, just stop for one solar cycle, just stop shooting, just stop killing, just stop. And in that silence, maybe you'll remember what your species actually cared about before. This war ate your souls. High Chancellor Vexthal slowly removed his ceremonial war helm, revealing the scarred carapace beneath. One cycle of silence, he repeated, tasting the words. The Zephyrian prime consciousness pulsed with colors Sarah had never seen before, colors that somehow conveyed hope. To remember what we were before we became what war made us. Sarah nodded. One cycle, and if you want to resume killing each other after that, the galaxy won't stop you. But maybe, just maybe, you won't want to anymore. 3 months later, the first Kethvar art exhibition in 4 centuries opened on their homeworld. The Zephyrians launched their first pure research expedition to the galactic core, and in the space between their territories, children of a dozen species played in systems that had known only battleships for generations. The war that had raged for centuries ended not with triumph or surrender, but with a single human whisper that reminded 2 ancient species of something they had forgotten how to be. Tired of fighting, and ready to remember who they were before, the war defined them. In the end, sometimes the greatest victory is simply the courage to stop.